The quarantine wing of the Xantharian medical station hummed with the sterile efficiency of 1,000 automated systems. Dr. Vex, chief physician of the Intergalactic Medical Corps, stood before the transparent containment field, his 3 eyes fixed on the dying patient within. Melissa lay motionless on the biobead, her human physiology a puzzle that had confounded every specialist in the sector. The neural degradation syndrome spreading through her cerebral cortex was unlike anything the galaxy's finest minds had encountered. Her synapses were misfiring in patterns that defied Xantharian neuroscience, Krillian biochemistry, and even the quantum medical frameworks of the ancient navigators. Another treatment failure, Vexter muttered, his translator converting the clicks and whistles into standard galactic common. The human neural architecture is too chaotic, too unpredictable. Behind him, a dozen alien specialists reviewed holographic data streams, their appendages moving in synchronized frustration. They had tried everything: neural stabilizers calibrated to human baseline frequencies, synthetic neurotransmitters reverse-engineered from Earth medical databases, even experimental quantum entanglement therapy. Nothing worked. Melissa's consciousness was slipping away, one synapse at a time. "We should inform her family," said Dr. Skara, her crystalline form refracting the medical bay's blue light. "By our calculations, she has less than 6 rotations before complete neural collapse." Vexter's mandibles clicked in agreement, though the gesture felt like defeat. In 300 cycles of practicing medicine across 47 star systems, he had never felt so helpless. The door to the observation deck slid open with a soft hiss. Jack stood in the doorway, small and fragile by galactic standards. At 14 Earth years, he barely reached the chest height of the shortest Xantharian technician. His eyes, those remarkable human eyes, with their limited visual spectrum but inexplicable depth, were red from crying. "I want to see my sister," he said quietly. Vexter turned, his translator struggling with the emotional undertones in the boy's voice. "Young human, the contamination protocols—" "I don't care about your protocols," Jack interrupted, his voice cracking. "Melissa is dying because you can't figure out how our brains work. Maybe that's because you're not human." The statement wasn't accusatory, just factual, but it struck Vexter like a plasma bolt. "Our medical science is advanced beyond," Skara began. "Advanced for you," Jack said, stepping forward. "But Melissa isn't you. She's human, and I'm human. Maybe that matters." Vexter studied the boy through his compound vision system. Human emotional states were notoriously complex, their neural chemistry a storm of contradictions that even the most sophisticated AI couldn't fully model. But there was something in Jack's determination, something that registered on instruments designed to measure quantum probability fields. The boy's presence was creating microscopic fluctuations in the local spacetime, as if his intention alone carried physical weight. "The quarantine field is designed to prevent," Vexter started. "Please," Jack whispered, "just let me try." "What do you have to lose? You've already given up." The silence that followed was heavy with the weight of professional pride confronting impossible circumstance. Finally, Vexter's manipulator appendages moved across the control interface. 10 minutes, he said. "The field will allow physical contact, but if your neural patterns begin to destabilize, they won't," Jack said. Already moving toward the containment field as it shimmered and dissolved, he approached Melissa's bedside with the careful determination of someone who had already lost too much. Their parents had died in the colony ship disaster at Proxima Station. Melissa was all he had left, and he was all she had. Jack took his sister's hand. Her skin was cold, her breathing shallow. The monitoring systems erupted in cascading alerts. "The neural interference is spiking," Skara exclaimed. "The boy's presence is destabilizing her remaining synaptic functions." But Vexter watched the holographic displays more carefully. The interference wasn't random, it was synchronizing. Jack's neural patterns were resonating with Melissa's, not as identical frequencies, but as complementary harmonics. "Melissa," Jack whispered, leaning close. "I'm here. Can you hear me?" "It's Jack. I'm right here." The boy closed his eyes, and something extraordinary happened. Human brains, Vexter suddenly understood, weren't just biological computers. They were quantum entangled networks refined by millions of years of social evolution. Siblings, especially close siblings, shared neural pathways developed through years of shared experience, emotional resonance, and genetic similarity. Jack's presence wasn't interfering with Melissa's brain function. He was providing a neural anchor, a familiar pattern that her degrading consciousness could recognize and follow back from the edge of dissolution. "I'm here, Mel," Jack continued, his voice steady now. Remember when we used to play in the hydroponic gardens? You'd make up stories about the plants being aliens from different worlds. Remember? On the monitors, Melissa's neural activity began to stabilize, not through any medical intervention, but through the simple, profound connection of one human mind recognizing another. You told me that the tomatoes were actually Martian explorers in disguise, Jack said, a small laugh mixing with tears. And I believed you because you were my big sister and you knew everything. Melissa's eyelids fluttered. I'm here, Jack whispered again. I'm not going anywhere. Come back. Please come back. The misfiring synapses began to reorganize, following patterns that the alien doctor's instruments couldn't have predicted because they emerged from something beyond pure neurochemistry. They emerged from love, from memory, from the uniquely human capacity for emotional bonds that transcended logical medical frameworks. Melissa's eyes opened. Jack, she whispered, her voice barely audible. The boy's face split into a smile that needed no translation. Yeah, Mel, I'm here. Behind them, Vexter and his team stood in stunned silence. The monitors showed neural function stabilizing at rates that violated every predictive model they had constructed. Impossible, Shkara breathed. The quantum probability of spontaneous neural reorganization is irrelevant, Vexter interrupted, his voice quiet with newfound respect. We calculated everything except the one variable we couldn't measure, which is humanity, Vexter said simply. Jack held his sister's hand as her strength slowly returned, neither of them aware that across the medical station, alien doctors were frantically recalibrating their understanding of consciousness itself, because sometimes the most advanced science in the galaxy couldn't compete with the simple act of one human telling another, I'm here.